Imagine for a moment, the year is 1924. The world was a different place, then quieter, slower, and in many ways, more dangerous. In the heart of Oregon's Cascade Mountains, nature ruled with an iron grip. Towering pines swayed under thick layers of snow, and silence reigned supreme, broken only by the cry of a distant eagle or the sharp crack of a frozen branch. The wilderness here wasn't just a landscape, it was a force. Beautiful, yes, but indifferent, even cruel. It swallowed the unprepared whole. Life was tough and isolated, but it was theirs. In the silence of the forest, they found freedom, or so it seemed. Asterisk then came, January 1924. A particularly brutal winter had settled over the Cascades with relentless snowfall and unforgiving cold. The trappers didn't complain because they knew how to endure. Yet one day they didn't return from their rounds. No sign of them or sounds from the cabin. Days passed and worry crept into nearby communities and supply outposts. Asterisk eventually. A search party fought through snow-covered trails to the cabin. What they found sent chills through even the most seasoned frontiersmen. Inside were signs of sudden abandonment, boots near the door, and meals left uneaten. Outside was even worse. Asterisk. The bodies of the 3 men were scattered near the lake's edge, half buried in snow and ice. They had been brutally murdered, not just shot or stabbed, but slaughtered. Each corpse bore signs of savage violence, blunt trauma, bullet wounds, and blood sprayed across the frozen earth. They did not die in their sleep. They were hunted and taken by surprise. One had tried to crawl away, leaving a red trail that froze before he could get far. Asterisk, but who would do this and why? There was no evidence of robbery or valuables missing. The rifles were still in the cabin, and no signs of a wild animal attack. This was something darker and personal. Asterisk attention quickly turned to a man named Lee Collins, another trapper who had clashed with Nichols the previous season. He was a solitary figure, unpredictable and volatile. Locals remembered how, after a drunken fight, Collins shouted he would come back and kill Nichols over a stolen wallet. Idle threats maybe, but now with 3 men dead, that warning echoed chillingly. Asterisk investigators pieced together fragments. Lee Collins wasn't really Lee Collins, but Charles Kimsey, a wanted fugitive with a sinister past. Just a year earlier in 1923, Kimsey had been arrested in Bend, Oregon for a brutal crime, assaulting a stagecoach driver named W.O. Harrison and pushing him down a deep well to die. Harrison barely survived, but Kimsey vanished before trial. Asterisk, then came a new clue. On January 24, 1924, shortly after the murders, a traffic officer in Portland stopped a man hauling a heavy sack filled with high-quality pelts only experienced trappers could gather. The man claimed he was headed to sell them and was directed to the Schumacher Fur Company on 3rd Street, where he sold the load for $110, a considerable sum at the time. That man was Kimsey. Asterisk, when police heard this, they issued a $1,500 reward for his capture, a fortune in the 1920s. But as winter faded into spring, Kimsey disappeared again. The trail went cold, and the forest kept its secrets. Nearly 10 years later, in 1933, Kimsey reappeared in Kalispell, Montana. A sharp-eyed lawman recognized him, and he was brought back to Oregon. The prime suspect was finally in custody, but justice would not come easy. Despite the timing, threats, and evidence linking him to the stolen furs, no one could prove Kimsey was at Lava Lake. The man who sold the pelts couldn't be identified with certainty by the shopkeeper, and eyewitness memories had faded. No weapon was ever found to explain the brutal murders. So the court sentenced Kimsey to life in prison, not for the Lava Lake murders, but for the attempted murder of W.O. Harrison a decade earlier. The murders remain unsolved. Time marched on, and the wilderness reclaimed the scene, but the story did not end there. In 2013, nearly 90 years later, author Melanie Tupper reignited the mystery in her book The Trapper Murders. Drawing from interviews, court records, and family accounts, she introduced a new theory. Kimsey didn't act alone. Asterisk, according to her research, a man named Ray Jackson Van Buren from Sweet Home, Oregon was involved. Van Buren had a criminal past and mental health struggles. Most disturbingly, he committed suicide in 1938, taking his secrets with him. Asterisk, could Van Buren have helped Kimsey carry out the killings? Was he the silent accomplice who vanished into the snowstorm? Tupper believed so, but no new charges were ever brought. Too much time had passed and too much evidence was lost, so the mystery deepens. The story of the Lava Lake murders is more than true crime. It's a window into a time when men lived on the edge of the world, fighting the elements, chasing fortune, and trusting few. It's a tale of rage, betrayal, and justice denied. Most of all, it's a reminder that even in the loneliest, quietest corners of nature, evil can find you. Asterisk, so next time you wander a snow-covered trail or hear the wind rustle through pine trees, think of Nichols, Wilson, and Pierce, who vanished into history, their blood soaking the ice at Lava Lake. Think of the silence that followed, and remember, some ghosts never leave the forest. This true story, known as the Trapper Murders, Lava Lake, remains one of the most haunting and mysterious crimes ever to unfold in the frozen wilderness of Oregon. The lesson? Asterisk, isolation doesn't always mean safety. In places where silence reigns, evil can move unnoticed. It's a reminder that sometimes the real danger isn't nature. It's the people you think you can trust. Asterisk, this was X.Stories. Thank you for watching.